Right, that's the current view from the telescope. I'll bring the magnifier up and let's tweak the exposure, see if we can find any details. Go straight to a 20-second exposure, and then we'll drop the gain in a little bit. Well, we've still got it pretty central, so it was easy enough to find. We're not using guiding this evening, just use the guide camera as a finder scope this evening. As with the last stream, it's the same equipment. Yep, there it is. We're using the same equipment, Skywatcher 300 PDS on an NEQ6 Pro. Right, let's see if we can't see some of the fragments buried inside there. Right, with the amount of light we're gathering, there's 1, 2, possibly 3 main elements I can pick up at the moment. So it's still a bit hazy here, so it's not going to be the best views for a while. The clouds are supposed to be thinning and passing over within the hour, so at the moment I'll just be grateful of getting what we can get. Right, let's go to a 30-second exposure and see what we can get. A snake under my telescope. Indeed, more like a guinea pig, because I have guinea pigs. Right. We're on the luminance filter. Yeah, we're on the luminance filter this evening. We had no success with that. We tried it with the RGB and didn't reveal very much. But even just on a basic 30-second exposure, I can see one major part of the core. There, let's just stretch it a bit and see where else we can find. Well, there's definitely something there. I'll double check on the focus shortly, but I don't think there's much point till I've got just a bit of high haze causing issues. So I'll just back that off a little bit. On that image there, you can definitely see an elongated core. So it's still in the process of breaking up. No problem, nobody's a stranger when it comes to looking up in the sky. Different eyes see different things. And with the previous stream, people were seeing things before I actually picked them out myself. I suppose it's because I'm too close to the screen here and I'm wanting to see things, and it's nice to have somebody else confirm that there is something there rather than me trying to convince other people. but just on this view here, on the enlarged view, 1, 2, 3, there's 4 pieces along that line there, and it just seems to be, not that white dot there, just here, a stray fragment just under the cursor. So I wonder if we've got a piece breaking away, making a run for it. Let's just reset the view, go back to normal view, and that's what it looks like without tweaking the light curve too much. Right, I'm going to go for a 45-second exposure. I'm going to be sneezing a bit because I've still got a bit of a cold. Really better than others. Nothing special about my setup here, apart from the sniffly cold I've got at the minute, and my eyes are running. I think my eyes are streaming just as much as I'm streaming. All right, right. Nice to know. It's nice to know that I'm a little bit ahead of the curve. Right, let's just tweak it a little bit, see what we can get. Yeah, it's easy to pick out even in this image without tweaking it too much. There's a lot going off in there. A photobomb by satellite. Oops. That out of the way. Yeah, it's definitely elongated. Not very much from 2 days ago when I was last streaming. The central core still seems to be about the same distance. I might even be able to go back and review some of those images from a couple of days ago. I've just had a lem sip just to try and settle me down for this evening. I've been at work all the time, but beginning of the week, end of the week on Friday, I went to work and I wasn't feeling very well, and with this virus thing, I thought it was best to come home just in case. And I've been at home suffering with hay fever and a cold. I've had a temperature, that's the main reason they sent me home. Better safe than sorry, because I work in a supermarket. Right then, I'm not sure. Oh yeah, I think I better start a browser up so I can actually see what other people are seeing. I'm just going to start a browser up because I'm not sure of the quality. .1080p coming through. It's reasonable. It's a reasonable quality, that is. Even. Hey Tom, nice to see you again. I'm still suffering with a bit of a cold, but I've got a bit of high haze outside, and not quite as clear of views as there were 2 nights ago. But it's still going strong. It's still there, and I can still distinctly see, well, without magnifying, at least 3 elements there. One bit there, and one definite big bit there. And there's a distinct separation just here. So I can pick out 3. I know there's 4 because I've seen other reports, but I can only pick out 3 with my kit. I suppose if I tweak the settings a little bit. No, I can only really pick 3 out with mine. I know somebody got some pictures with a 16-inch scope and a 1 meter scope, and they had a little bit more software to manipulate with. But as the stream says, this is live views as they happen, as they come into the scope. Yep, let's just reset it, clear. There we go. These are 45-second exposures. We're getting a bit of movement. Got a bit of coma on my stars. That's I've not picked. Got a bit of coma on my stars. Wonder if I'm just slightly out of focus. Right, I'm going to drop the exposure down to just 1 second, and I'm just going to just double check the focus. Right, that's definitely out of focus. What do you reckon? That look better? Just do a 10-second just to check. It's manual focus on this system. I built all the parts myself, so I did the wiring, built the parts, fixed the motor and the drives to it. Still see it. Right, let's up it to 30 seconds and see what else we can pick out. You never know, I might be able to see a little bit more detail now. I've forgot the thing focused properly. I'm going to be doing a similar routine. There we go. To the other evening. I'm going to set up a few multi-exposure runs and do capture of 30 frames at a time. Two distinct parts there at the front. That one seems out of line. If you look at the axial core, it would normally be that way. That piece is sort of flipping up out the way. I wonder if that one's going to be the first one to drop out the alignment. Move that out of the way. Yeah, even just there. If you take that, draw a line through the core, straight through the centre, that piece there seems off centre somehow from this point of view, as it's lifting higher up. I'll go to 45 seconds next. Yeah, that's easy to see. That piece is definitely coming away from the main line. It's not stretched out any more than it had 2 days ago. I mean, using this 3x zoom frame, it still occupies about the same area, so it's not overly stretched out, and that bit is definitely not along the main axis of the Comet line. Let's just clear that, see what it looks like. Yeah, you can see the effect of the haze is having on the overall picture. Right, let's try 60 seconds. Get a lot more grey background with 60 seconds. Yeah, you'd expect it to be stretching out more as time goes on. I mean, there shouldn't be any friction in space. It's effectively vacuum. But the only forces that would be acting upon it would be light. And with that piece being right at the front, and the main bit that's hitting the light of the sun, it'd be heating up. And that would cause it to gas off in multiple directions. And as that gases off, it would deflect its trajectory. That might be why that one, if you see there, look, it's definitely off the main axis. That's why the front piece is deflecting off angle. And I should imagine the next piece behind it will have a similar effect as that faces the sun and starts to warm up. There we go, that's a lovely shot. That is an absolute lovely shot. You can see two distinct pieces, that's possibly one up there. Right, let me just have a stretch. Yeah, it's easy to see three pieces there. 1, 2, 3, and about I don't think that's it. I think there's the other piece just there. My camera's just not picking it up yet. Yeah, that's easy to see there. I'm not sure how the tail would actually react, because up until now it's just had one large main body to stream off. You can see three big distinct pieces there. One there, let's get a bit closer. There, look, there's two pieces there. Now you can see four, and two pieces there. So that is actually picking up all four main artifacts of it. Yeah, that's lovely. That's quite a good shot, that. Yes, I'm not sure how much of a reaction it would get with the well, if you imagine this comet's been travelling for many thousands of years, the outer part would have, like a piece of engineering, it would become case hardened. Yeah, that we can see. Yeah, very true. It would have become like we do in engineering. We get things that are case hardened after being used a lot. It sort of gets an extra hard surface because it's been exposed to a harsh environment. So I should imagine the tail has developed from the main core of the comet after many years, and it will only emit a certain amount of vapor or dust from it. Now it's breaking up, it's exposing parts that haven't been weathered or case hardened, for want of there's probably a better term for it, but case hardened means it's been exposed. the inner parts aren't as hardy or aren't as tough, perhaps, and they're being exposed to the heat of the sun for the first time. So we don't know if that's going to cause them to break up more, or if it's going to cause an outburst of corona. The outer corona is going to spread. The coma, sorry, not the corona, the coma. I'm quite pleased, even with the haze outside, we can definitely pick up different parts. Yeah, I would expect it to myself to gas off more, because it's got virgin material being exposed to the heat of the sun, and with it not being, like I say, case hardened, it should not give off more gas. Depends on the core though, thinking about it. It all depends on the core. If it's an iron core surrounded by ice and debris, it won't necessarily give off a larger coma. Let's have a look at the data sheet on it, the live update on it. .1 kilometers a second. It seems to have slowed down, because I'm sure 2 days ago it was 19.4, and it's got closer by at least 1 million kilometers. I'll bring the screen across. That is another good shot. That's another good shot with the data on it. If you look here, distance and speed, Earth distance. It's heading more towards the sun now, 38.2 kilometers a second. That's the closing speed for the sun distance. Not direct, it's not going direct to the sun, but that's the speed at which the distance is reducing, same as that for the Earth. I think it's May the 21st. I think it approaches its closest approach to the sun. So it's slowed down on the speed as towards the Earth, and I can't exactly remember what the speed was for the reducing of distance to the sun. Have we got a orbital tracker on this? 3D. I've got a 3D view. So I'm sure this has got a 3D view somewhere. No. I'm sure we had a 3D view, but I can't see it. Never mind. All right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I think it was 0.4, so it slowed down by 0.3 of a kilometre a second. A reduced speed as it goes round the sun. That means it's lost energy, so it might not make it around the sun. If it slows down too much, it might not necessarily make it around. Yeah, there's still a lot of detail in that core there, and I'm sure that front bit there is breaking away. If it's travelling along the axes down there, that bit's going to be flipping out, peeling out in the vertical direction as we're viewing it. Yeah, look at that. 1, 2, 3, and I think the fourth bit's just here. Look. 1, 2, 3, 4. There. Yeah. I'm feeling quite pleased with this view. Right, let's have a go to slightly longer exposure. 75 seconds. See what that does for us. Let's clear that. Yeah, you can definitely see the effect of the high haze in this image being all grey. Now, I think you need a little bit more sophisticated equipment than just a picture. It's not too bad. I've got a very, very high haze, so it's not quite as clear as it has been. I think the last time I was streaming it, it was a slight bit better than what it is now. I had my dinner a little bit early this evening, so I could do this. The forecast was looking good. What, where you are? Fog going in where you are? Over here we've got clouds to the north. That's not too bad. That's not too bad. Stars are stretched a little bit. Wonder if I can get some tracking going. Bear with me a second. I'll just see if I can get some tracking on go. Right, I'm just going to do the guiding assistance. See what that does for us. So the image will get quite blurred for a while. Just show you what the guiding screen looks like. We're in training mode at the moment, so it's not doing any, it's switched off effective guiding. Polar alignment error, going up about 2.6 arc seconds, arc minutes. But center axis to top is 1 arc second. So top of graph to bottom of graph is 2 arc seconds. And that's without guiding. So we've locked on the star just there, see if it's going to move. You see guide output here is disabled. So any bit of wind is going to knock that scope all over the place. Yeah, it's 10:31 in the evening, 22:31 here. Another 30 seconds and then I can switch the training off and see what adjustments I need to make. You can see the scope's moved a little bit. Right, move this back. It's actually not made that much difference with guiding being switched off. Right, let's stop that and see what adjustments I need to make. 0.23 and 0.35, that's almost nothing. Bit of drift, that's all. Just see if the guiding can keep hold. Right, it's going to be elongated for a bit as the scope moves back onto the guide star. Excuse me. Oh dear. If the guiding makes a big difference, no, guiding's lost it. Yeah, guiding's lost it. It's trying to make adjustments that aren't needed, so I'll switch the guiding off. There you go. That's switched off now, I don't need that. Yeah, I do need a cup of tea. That's next on the agenda. So your scope runs a lot better with guiding switched off this evening. Right. Let's bring that back just back to 30 seconds. No, the Comet's only just above background levels. The guide scope's 90mm with a focal length of 600mm. So it's f5.5, so it's not as fast as it could be. That's not bad. That's not bad. So I'd need an f3.5 f4 scope to lock onto the target. The main tube, the big telescope I'm using to get these images, is in its current configuration with the Coma corrector is f4.8, 4.9. So although it is a fast scope, let's clear this, that's a 30-second exposure, and that's all you can see of the comet. So a guide scope would not be able to see enough of that to lock onto. Could perhaps lock onto a star nearby, but the stars are static compared to the comet that's moving. And the guide camera on the guide scope is Q NEQ6 Mark II, which is a pretty reasonable, pretty sensitive camera. And if you want to see the view from that telescope, this is the guide scope, and what's the guide scope's actually seeing right now. So that's half-second exposure. If I bring that up to 8 seconds, this is bringing 8 seconds. An 8-second exposure. And you can't see the comet. Let's bring this to 15 seconds. Yeah, the comet's not quite visible for the guide scope to lock onto. Just trying to orientate the view from the guide scope to do an overlay so you can see exactly what the view difference is. Nah, I don't think I'll bother. Right, too much to mess with there. Right, let's go back and see what we're looking at. Bring this across. I'm going to tweak the gain to 300 again. So I think we had some success at that level as well yesterday, the other night. And 30 seconds. Let's see what we'll get at that. Yeah, I think the guide scope needs a magnitude 6 or a 7, I think, for it to be meaningful, to be a meaningful, viable target to guide onto. I think the haze is getting worse rather than better, because on a 30-second exposure the background should have become darker. So I think the conditions tonight aren't going to be ideal. But even at 30 seconds I can still pick out part of the core there. Let's just do another stretch and see what we can pick out. Well, there's definitely elements within there. One, I can see 3, possibly 4 with that bit there. There. I think that cup of tea is going to be coming sooner rather than later. I think go back onto a 45-second exposure with a gain set at 300, because you see how much noise there is everywhere throughout that frame, and a lot of that noise is artificially induced by the haze. the noise just amplifies the haze rather than any detail. And that bit is definitely coming off there. Look, if you follow the line through there, that bit's definitely coming out of alignment. There we go. It was a 300 gain that got the better results. Yeah, let's tweak a bit now and see what we can drag out of it. Yeah, easily picking out the core now. Clear it. Yeah. Right, I'm going to set up an exposure program. Can't remember which one we used. This is the one. 30 exposures, binning one by one. 10-second cool down. Sorry, exposure of 30 seconds, count of 50. I think we're set at 45, so we'll just put that at 45. 10-second filter luminance, update current. There we go. Right, I'm just going to start this run. Pop that over the top. Stop the live view and start the sequence. There we go. I'll go and put that kettle on in a few minutes. Just monitor the first couple of images, a couple of pictures that come in, and it'll give us an idea what the temperature of the sensor is in this bottom section just here. Hey Chris, welcome back. Trump is an entity all of his own. Over here in the UK, Trump's a rather unique character, and is more of a comedy, without being insulted to Americans, is more of a comedy element, because we just don't take him serious. I mean, personal view, I think he's a greedy scumbag. And he hasn't got a clue what he's doing. But let's try not to get into politics on here. We're just dealing with facts and things we can see, and not with I'm an expert on anything, because I know I'm not an expert on anything. Unless it comes to expert in making a cup of tea, I'm pretty good at that. Right, earlier on we did pick up several sections of the main body fragmenting. That's a star. It's just going to be in the way for a few minutes till we've gone past it. But the main core, the line, goes almost towards that star, and that bit seems to be peeling off in the vertical part of this of the image. Unfortunately, the conditions here aren't as good as they were the other evening, and I'm struggling with the very high haze. The sky's not as clear, so I'll go with it for a while, see what we can gather, and I'll go through the different settings that we went through last time, just to see if we can pick out any more details. The equipment is effectively set up the same way, so the only variable is the weather at the moment. The temperature is consistent at 1 degree centigrade. I've turned it up a little bit. I'll turn the temperature down a little bit, just to get rid of a bit of noise off the sensor. When it's running in this sort of a temperature, because it's been about I won't check the thermometer in the obs in a minute. I think it's about 8 degrees, if I remember. The camera normally runs at about between 28 and 34 degrees centigrade, and the little cooling mod I've put on drops it down quite significantly, which does reduce sensor noise quite a lot. I think that's how we can get away with using a gain of 300. Normally you can't get a gain above about 250 without encountering a lot more noise. That's actually coming out pretty good. Let's have a look. A little bit over the top there. By changing the emphasis on this curve, on this bell curve here, it's the pixel count effectively, how many pixels at each intensity. So if we just go for the pixels that fall within that range, that's part of the main body. The stars will always have a high pixel count because their intensity is quite good. So this is the intensity of the light at its highest point coming off the comet. And this is how you can sometimes pick out the different elements within the main core. And if we clear the adjustments, it's getting hazy out there. It really is. I'll drop this down a little bit if I can while it's doing a run. Make adjustments on the fly. It's not gaining, is it, very much this time. Yeah, I think this evening we're going to be fighting the weather conditions outside. So I don't think it's going to be as revealing as it was last time. The software I'm using is well, the free version's virtually identical to what I'm using. It's called Astrophotography Tool. The only difference between the free version and the paid version, I'm using the paid version, is the paid version you get a few extra tweaks, so you can adjust the exposure on like a wheel rather than typing numbers in, which does come in handy sometimes. But it's really capable software. Highly recommended. Works for quite a wide range of cameras too. The histogram that I do most of the tweaking with, this, is just one of the many tools you've got available just here. Look, focusing aid, batting off mask, autofocus aid. Now the focuser that I use on my telescope I built by hand. On all my telescopes I build all my own focusers. So I've got a little button on my desk here that I can remote focus all the cameras. That's gone off a little bit as well. You see that bit of coma around the stars? Because when I initially did the focus, there was the cooling wasn't switched on. So with everything cooling down, the focus has drifted off a little bit. Bring the thing back in. There we go. Yes, the magnifier in conjunction with the histogram allows you to tweak the view, tweak the data just a little bit that comes in. Very crude. You can manipulate the image a lot more within Photoshop, or there's a piece of software called PixInsight. You get a lot more filters and options within those pieces of software. This is just capture software, just primarily designed for capturing the data. But as you can see from the grey screen, the conditions outside aren't exactly favourable this evening. This is a 45-second exposure. Yeah, the sensor's gone to 0 degrees C now, so I might have to do a refocus. See, looks like bubbles. What I've also got at the moment, look, just tweak it a little bit more. Right, there we go. That was a brief look at the equipment that we're using. Yep, it just works with the camera. You don't need a telescope attached to it. Right, let's just tweak it a little bit. Well, my setup, I've built most of it myself. The observatory I designed during tea breaks when I was in fabrication, and I welded it together in my spare time during tea breaks and after work, and it was all hot dip galvanized, so it's a metal frame. Didn't copy anybody else's design, it's all my own design. So anything that's a failure point, I'm able to fix myself without having to phone a friend. I think that's the star, that's not part of it. Yeah, I think the only parts that I bought for this setup are the cameras, the mount and the scope. And some of the optics. The observatory, the wiring, the pier, the sliding roof mechanism, focuses. Everything else I've built myself and designed myself, not copied anybody else's data. Just wanted to get away from those two stars. Just having a quick look, see if I've got a picture of the observatory from the outside. That's with the roof slid off, that one. See if we can find a better one. Now the mirrors, the telescope came as a unit. I mean, if you look online at most of the shops, and look for a Skywatcher 300 PDS. The PDS designates it's a photographic variety of the observing variety, because there's one that's made for putting your eyeball up to the tube, and one that's designed with the dual speed focuser that's more compatible with photography. The focal length has been reduced. The mirror's been brought forward by about 1.5 centimeters to give the better focal point for the camera and the eyepiece. so it's had slight adjustments on it. I'm just trying to find a picture of my observatory from the outside. I found a picture of the camera that I modified. Find pictures of everything but the observatory. Yeah, look, that's the pier I designed and made. That's what everything's mounted on. No, I can't find any. Can't find any. I know I saved them somewhere. I found a picture of the mirror when I was cleaning the mirror. Yeah, I've had this set up now for about 4 years, and it's been pretty capable of everything I've thrown at it. As you can see this evening, even with the hazy conditions outside, it's still pulling in a bit of data. Although the conditions seem to be deteriorating quite a lot. Right, we're about halfway through this capture run. I've found pictures when I did the belt mod, when I cleaned the mirror, but I can't find pictures of the observatory. if everything keeps deteriorating like this, the whole thing might become unusable. Yes, it's deteriorating quite bad out there. Expanding the process. Very welcome. Nice to have you along for the ride. Unfortunately, this evening the conditions aren't as good as they were on the first one on this particular Comet, and it's a little bit disappointing. I'm not sure about debris from this Comet's tail. I did find a 3D projection of its path, and I don't think the Earth passes directly through it at any point. It passes inside the Earth's orbit of the Sun. The closest point that we'll see it, which would have been naked eye viewing, was between the 15th and the 24th of May, and it would have been magnitude 4, and some estimates was magnitude 2, so pretty bright. But unfortunately, if it keeps disintegrating like it is doing, we'll not be seeing very much of those numbers, because even tonight when I look outside, the sky, although I can see a lot of stars out there, it's hazy, as you can see on this image here. Very, very hazy, and we're not pulling much out of the images we're capturing right now. It not quite as intense as Hale-Bopp, but it would be the fourth brightest object in the sky. Sun, Moon, Venus, and then it would have been this one for a few nights. And for it to approach the light intensity of Venus, it would have to be really bright, and you would have been easily able to pick out tail details. But unfortunately, it's breaking up. It'd be a Schumacher-Levy type spectacle. A little line of pearls passing by. assuming that they last long enough. There you go. Just found a picture of my observatory from my Facebook site. That way it looks. That's what it looks like from the outside. The little green box. The little green box. You see the frame there that the roof slides open onto. And that's a little garden around it. There you go. That's where it's all happening inside that little shed. That is my portable setup, and that's the big telescope in the background that we're using right now, over the top. This is the one I take camping and to star parties. That's an 80mm guide scope, 150mm reflector, and that's the camera I'm actually using for this evening. That's on there. So that's my portable setup, and that connects either to this computer I'm using right now, or it connects to a laptop to give all the same facilities that we use in this very moment. So that's what my little toy is that I take camping. Well, part of it can be tracked. There's a thing called a solar obscurer. It's like a disc you put to obscure the solar disc, and you can still photograph it. It's not the ideal solution, but you can still track the comet as it disappears to the far side of the solar disc. I think there is the new solar observer could track it, and if it disappeared within its view, I think NASA might be photographing it. No, the roof. The roof. It's like a space frame. I made it in one piece. I built it on trestles at the workshop, built the main frame, and then just made a space frame on it. And it's all covered in 18mm or 3/4 marine ply, so it's all waterproof. It doesn't leak. You can literally push it with one finger. You can slide the roof off with one finger because it's got a pair of heavy-duty iron gate rollers on each side, really good bearings, and they slide really easy, and it's got a catch to stop it sliding off the rails. If you have a look on my Facebook profile, I think I did a blog, a timeline construction as I built it. From digging out the ground to laying the foundations to the 1.1 cubic metre of concrete that the telescope bolts to, which is about 2 tonnes of concrete to stop it from vibration. Somebody's got more pictures of it breaking up. It would be nice if this haze just disappeared for an hour. Yeah. If you want to see, I could show you a few pictures of other things I've photographed. Yeah, look. This is one of mine from a while back. See Ganymede just here. This is from where we are now, but using the planetary camera. I was going to use a planetary camera to do some of the work on this comet, but it's not sensitive enough. But that's from here. That's on my telescope for the one you've just been looking at, which was quite a nice evening observing that. And that was taken from 2 hours worth of video footage, stacking and cleaning up frames. That's 24 frames. We do planetary work as well. Let's have a look what else we've got on here that you might be interested in. Comet Lovejoy. That's another one from here. That one was a good one. That was quite a bright one, and that was with a DSLR rather than this camera. So I've got my album open where I was looking for the pictures of my observatory. So I've got all these pictures to hand. Orion Nebula with the trapezium, the core stars just there. That's with the RGB and luminance filter, and I was going to go back and redo that one again because I picked up a lot more detail than what I expected, so I might just go back and have another go at that. Different camera, but lunar. I do moon tours as well as the other one. When we've got a good moon, I'll get the planetary camera, a 5 times Barlow, and we'll actually go within the craters on the moon, which is a nice evening exploration if you're into that sort of thing. Well, next time we have a clear sky and I'm on the correct shift, because if we look at the screen now, the haze is starting to overpower any detail we're getting, even if we tweak the light curve a little bit. I think we're losing the battle against the haze. Right, if you want to do the moon tour, I'll set up a moon tour for you. Let's have a look at some of the other pictures. Here's one you might like. M51. That was a nice evening there. It's a bit hazy on that one as well. So I'm just outside Bortle 9, so the sky clarity is pretty bad. I captured, I think it's about 24 frames and stacked those live as we were capturing them. That's another one that I've done. So you can find Ring Nebula, M57. There we go, the Ring Nebula. Another evening's viewing. That's the star that exploded to cause all this plasma gas to expand around it. M57, the Ring Nebula. See if you can find. Here's another one. The Cigar Galaxy. I've done a lot better one on this. This has got lots of hydrogen alpha gas coming out this direction and that direction there. You can just about see the faint startings of the nebulosity of the plasma gas. But that was also, I actually did that one live as well, stacked it live on screen, and that was just using an ordinary DSLR, a Canon camera. Right, what else have I got that you might be interested in? Really bad picture of Mars. It was very low on the horizon, but you could just about start making surface details, surface shadows out on that one. So, another one. Not a matter of how far you can see. The light from the planets takes mere minutes to get to us. The Orion Nebula is many light years away. Many light years. So you're effectively capturing the photons that left the nebula many years ago. We've got just a little bit of detail coming through again on there. Let's see if we can get the magnifier up again. Now I think I'm going to have to wait for this haze to clear before we can get anything decent from this. The haze is the enemy this evening, and it's not giving us any respite. Oh, Jeff Wayne, War of the Worlds, definitely one of my favourite albums. The film wasn't too bad either. Yes, you're photographing time. Effectively, you're photographing time. What have we got here that you might be interested in? Here's one for you. A nebula that not many people see. It's called the Saturn Nebula. Can you guess why that is? Why do you think that one's called the Saturn Nebula? Yeah, it looks like it's got rings, like the planet Saturn. See if I can find the NASA's version of it. NASA had a lot better picture of it than what I did. I can't find it. I can't put my cursor on it. Venus. It's always a good one, Venus. There we go. That's Venus, but that was taken during daylight. That was taken in daylight, that one was. That's with the same scope, 2 times Barlow, and the QHY 132E planetary camera. And I think that's a stack of about 500 frames from an AVI file. So when Venus is high enough, that's also a nice hour to be viewing. Right, let's have a look. What else? Just showing you all the stuff that I play with. There we go. The Witch's Broom. Or the Veil Nebula. That's one of the elements of the Veil Nebula. That was taken with a digital camera, a Canon 5D Mark II on the same telescope that we're using this evening. And I think that's a stack of about 12 frames. I think that was 12 frames to get that. So they're all the strands of plasma gas expanding from another exploded star. This one's a bit special. Yes, it's Saturn, but that was taken with a webcam. A £32 Microsoft LifeCam Cinema. Bought it from a store, took the main lens off it and just mounted it in a holder and used that as the main camera on this big telescope that we're using now. So that was taken with a webcam. So just to prove a point to one of my friends that you don't need super expensive cameras to take decent pictures. A webcam. Really pleased with that one. Right, that's the imaging plan finished, so we can play with the settings again now. One last one for you to have a look at. Another nebula. Eskimo Nebula, that one. Another planetary nebula. And that one was also taken with the Canon camera. I think that was a stack of 15 frames for that one, and the exposures was 45 seconds. 15 45-second frames. So if you want to get into astrophotography, if you have a closer look, I think there's a letter E. There you go. There. And if you turn it, if you rotate it round, it looks like an igloo. And if you do the wiki, it tells you all about it. Wikipedia is your friend in astronomy. And that's, like I say, that one was with the Canon camera. See a lot of noise in the picture. It's a few years old, this one, when I first started out. So I wasn't very experienced with the whole astrophotography malarkey. So anyway, that's filled in a bit of time while this imaging plan had finished. Let's have a look what we can get out of this this comet now. Right, I'll drop it back down to 30 seconds exposure. Set the gain back down to 250. But we'll leave the bin in at 2x2, see if we can pull a bit more detail out of it. I've got two big encyclopedias in my lounge, and I used to use those for reference all the time. But after a while I was starting taking a lot of photographs of things that weren't in there, and the Wikipedia was one of the first resources I used to use to identify what I was taking pictures of and see other people's efforts. Eskimo Nebula. Let's see if I can find it for you. I might have got you the wrong one. Yep, it's not the Eskimo Nebula, that one. Bear with me a second. Might have been showing you the wrong picture. Yeah, that wasn't the Eskimo Nebula. I'm just trying to find out which nebula it was now. Just going back into my books, into my file. Snowball Nebula. That's where I went wrong. That was it. That was the Snowball Nebula. That one with the thing was a Snowball Nebula. Let me find you the one that my Eskimo Nebula. Why was that one in that folder? Ah, yep, there you go, look, blue snowball. That was how it appeared on my screen. So yeah, I was pointing out the wrong, I was naming it wrong. That was the blue snowball. So yeah, another planetary nebula. There we go. That's looking at it without zooming. Yeah, I'll just flick through some of my files for you so you can have a look. So I have got the Eskimo Nebula on here somewhere, I'm sure I have. That one's a bubble nebula, just there, like a slight bubble. There you look, bubble nebula. Close up. That's the processing. You're having a look at all my raw data before anybody gets to see it. That's another comet that I chased for a while. C 2015 F4. Yeah, you're just getting a look now at all the stuff that not everybody normally sees. Think now that's cat's eye. Difficult trying to remember all the different things I've photographed, and this is just my dump file. M1, the Crab Nebula. There's another one that's worth looking at one evening when the sky's clear and there's a lot less haze out there. See the different sky quality on that one. I think that was this camera that we're using now, but that was processed and stacked. Do a bit of photography as well. That's what happens when your neighbour switches the light on and you're photographing something just above his roof. More comets. I like hunting down comets, as you might guess. Right, that's the Orion Nebula again, showing you the core. That's called the trapezium. That was taken with the Canon camera. Nothing special, just an ordinary Canon camera, DSLR. Crescent Nebula, an exploded star, and that's just the expanding gas from around what used to be a star. And processed a little bit. Never did get enough data for finishing that one. That's a special one, that there is a Russian third stage rocket. And for about 4 years I never knew what it was till somebody in the Sky at Night group identified it for me. That big bright star there is Altair, and I thought that was a Cygnus supply rocket going up to the space station. It turned out it's a tumbling third stage Russian rocket that was being tracked, but I didn't know that. I thought I'd find something flying around our planet, and it put the bejesus out of me. Now, I think most of the things around our planet is well documented. Most of them above the size of a tennis ball are tracked. Anything that could be deemed a hazard is tracked, even down to the astronaut's spanner or whatever it was that broke free on one of his evenings working on the space station on the assembly. There's a nice one for you. Dumbbell Nebula. That was an RGB evening, that, using the filter wheel and this camera that we're using now. Zoom in. Yep, the Dumbbell Nebula. He even managed to pick up the star that went pop. My daughter likes Skyrim. These are some of the things. A lot my photography. There you go. Get back to astronomy. I've got guinea pigs. Yeah, there's me with my guinea pig. That's what I look like from this side of from the other side of the camera. There you go, another shot of the Dumbbell Nebula. I went through many evenings photographing this one, trying to get a really good shot, and it took a long time to get the settings right and the exposures right. It was a learning curve that lasted a long time to capture that one. And I play a lot of Elite Dangerous. That's the one. Eskimo Nebula. That's the one. I knew we'd find it eventually. There you go, the Eskimo Nebula. I knew I'd got it on there somewhere, just couldn't put my cursor on it. And compare that. That's NASA's. Let me just drop that one back down. Rotate it round till that star's in the same position as that star, and that's my version of what the Hubble took. Quite pleased with that, and my setup cost a lot less than the Hubble. Here you go. Scroll down a little bit on Wiki and you'll see different colour palettes, because no matter what picture you take, you could, like I manipulate these with just using this curve here, you can bring out different details by mapping different colours to different elements. Like if I was using a hydrogen alpha filter, which I have got, and photograph this, I'd pick up something completely different to what you see with the luminance filter. But for the hydrogen alpha filter to work, you'd need an exposure of many minutes, and because the comet is moving, the image would just be a blur and it would be meaningless unless you could actually track the comet. And that, look at that bit there. See, there might be a bit floating around on there. See if that comes back into view in a few minutes. I'll leave that view up there. Yeah, all those are from the back garden, from that little green shed. And I've spent many an evening just like sitting down with a TV remote control, flicking from star to star, target to target, till I find something interesting that's worth an hour just to photograph. I think when I purchased my scope and camera, the total outlay in pounds sterling, well, that bit's back again. I think the sky's actually starting to clear up a little bit, because we're starting to pick up a bit of detail in there. Yeah, it also creates a lot of problems staring at stars, like overlaying for work in the morning. Not that I've done it many times. Here's one for you, a nebula that you might be able to recognise. I'll just bring it across for you. What do you think that one is? Although it's in mono. What do you think that one could be? The shape gives it away. Horsehead Nebula. The Horsehead Nebula. Right, let's get back to the star of the evening. Let's have a look more at this comet. Right, see definitely two pieces there, one bit there, and possibly that little bit just there, what I saw earlier on. One, two, three, possibly four elements there. Let's wait for the next image to come in. Just tweak this a little bit. Right. Let's just clear all the adjustments and see what it looks like. Right, if you look at this top corner here, there's a gradient. So that's getting darker up there. If this passes by, we should get some clear sky look. There's a definite haze band there, look, with clear coming. So this might be getting better for the evening. We might have some better viewing in a bit. Half an hour or so, unless it's moving the other way. Right, adjust it a bit more. Yeah. Conditions are improving. The conditions are improving. Distinct first element there, first part of the core, second part of the core there, third part of the core there, and the band, I think there'd be one there. 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 4 pieces there. Let's see if we can tweak a little bit more out of it. Not at the minute. I think we'll need the skies to clear up a little bit more before we can start pulling some more detail out of that. Even the guide cameras having issues with clarity. Right, bring that up again. Let's go to 45 seconds. Now we've got a little bit less haze out there. See what 45 seconds can do for us. See if we can pull out a little bit extra. So you'd be interested in an evening tour of the moon. I'll have to see if I can set something up for that. Check the weather and see if we can schedule it on a full moon or a 3/4 moon, because the Terminator is always interesting. It brings out lots of detail with the shadows. Right, 1, 2, 3. It's easy to pick out 3 pieces along there. One there, one there, and one there. Right, that's 2. I'll set that up one evening then. I'll set that up one evening. I'll try and schedule it for a 3/4 moon. You have a channel, do a few show. Community chat on a Sunday. Yeah, cool with that. I'll have to make sure the elephant in the room is the weather. It's one thing that's a little bit out of both our control, I should imagine. And I'll set up an evening's tour of the moon. No doubt they'll be wanting to say, where did they land? Can you see the landing sites? Which my resolving power of my equipment, even with my 5-power Barlow on there, my planetary camera, I think 1 pixel equates to about 30 kilometers. So I don't have, sorry, 3 kilometers, not 30, 3 kilometers. So every single pixel you'd see on screen when I'm doing the moon tour is equivalent to 3 kilometers. So I don't have the resolving power to even get close. Yep. What I'll do, if you're on Facebook, I run a astronomy group by the same name as this channel, Urban Astronomy. If you join that, you'll see an announcement as I'm setting it all up. So you get a little bit more early notice. But yeah, if you're subscribed and you've got that bell symbol highlighted, you will get a notification. But I think the notification works for 5 minutes. But if I do a schedule, I can set up a schedule so you get a couple of hours notice. I'll set up a schedule so you get a couple of hours notice, so you know when it's coming up. Yeah, you don't need Facebook. I mean, it's just a group that I run anyway. Share a lot more photographs on there. But yeah, I'll set it up so you get notification a couple hours prior to going live. And if you have a look on this channel that we're using now, I think, let me just have a look to my channel. Under the section that says discussion, I can put announcements in there. If you just go to my channel there'll be one called discussion, and what I'll do, I'll put the announcements in there as well, so if you watch that, you'll know when you'll get a bit more notice. Right, let's go back to this comet. We seem to be getting a little bit away from the topic at the minute. Yeah, you can still see the main body. I'll set it up so I'll have a link to a large moon map on a web page, so you can actually follow where we go on the moon map. So you've got a rough idea, because when I've got the maximum zoom on the moon tour, you lose track of where we actually are, because I can zoom into a crater inside a crater inside a crater. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. In these times of isolation and everybody having to stop at home, a little bit of an unusual distraction, I think will be welcomed by many people. And I can actually see on that image there, what I thought was one piece is actually two pieces together right on the cone. There, look, two pieces. So the conditions are improving outside. I'll be quite interested to see what other people have got on this tomorrow. If Venus is within the horizons, I can do a daytime one on Venus. Sometimes Mercury is within view, but you don't get much detail with Mercury because it's so small. But Venus is an easy target. the nucleus splitting. Yeah, this is the main body there that we're actually looking at now. That's the nucleus, and we can see two distinct elements. If I go back 2 images, where is it? Is it that one? Yeah, there's the one. A bit too far. You can see 2 separate pieces there. Yeah, if you think about the energy contained with it moving through the our system, our solar system, it's influenced mainly by the sun. But the minor planets, including ours, will have some influence on it. And because the mass is changing, it's not a single large mass anymore, the smaller elements will be affected in different ways to the larger ones. So it will be responsible for splitting them up and putting distance between them. The heavier, larger one will be more influenced by the gravitational pull of the sun, more so than the smaller ones. So the large one may be being pulled away from the smaller ones, or as it split up, if there was energy involved, which more often than not will be the case, the energy would have pushed them apart, and that would also be acting on the different masses to cause distance to be put between them. And you can see a small piece there, look. So sitting where I am now is very, very difficult, because I'm going through the mindset, if I had just that other camera, if I had just that other lens, if I had just that other mirror. I think the haze is coming back a bit. Yeah, the haze is starting to come back. So we've just been through a clear patch. Yeah, that's right, that's right. There's always a list of stuff that you'd like to spend if money was no object. Well, that's come out a little bit better. That's got a little bit more clarity on it. But a big part of it is getting familiar with the equipment that you're using. If you know what you can do with it by playing about, what my daughter calls it, you're playing with your camera, Dad. By playing about, experimenting with settings, tweaking them a bit at a time, like over the last couple of evenings, we found that our sweet spot is 250 gain with these settings that we're using now. 45 seconds and 250 gain, we seem to be getting the clearer imaging. So getting to know the equipment always pays in the end, so you don't have to keep spending that extra money. You need to become comfortable with what you've got, and I'm having a hard time doing that at the minute. I want something more. My 60th birthday's coming up in July, and I'm planning on buying myself a treat, a new camera. Not decided what it's going to be yet, but a new camera's on the horizons, not too far away. Normally I'd go to the astronomy show, but unfortunately it's been cancelled. So the International Astronomy show would be where I'd go out and have a look at all the different cameras and stuff. Yeah, it's a journey. Once you've got the kit, you can't just instantly switch it on and get Hubble-like pictures. It's a journey. You go along, make lots of mistakes, and I've made plenty. PowerShot SX50, but it's a very good camera. Yeah, it is. Once you get familiar with how your camera works and your equipment works, you can make it do loads of stuff. I mean, yeah, I think you saw some of those dragonfly pictures. I do a lot of wildlife photography, and I've got the setting. I've got every lens from 10mm to 500mm, and those dragonflies was taken with a 200mm f2.8 handheld shot, and I got dragonflies mating on the wing with perfect clarity and sharpness, and that was down to knowing how the camera works. And this is starting to pick up detail again. I think that bit of haze has passed by, and we've got the core coming through. I don't know if you remember from a few nights ago, we had a pixel, as I was calling it at the time, that kept reappearing periodically around the core, and it's happening again this evening. There it is, look. So I'm wondering if we're seeing a fragment in axial orbit around the actual comet. Nine minutes past midnight here. Pardon me. That's it, a hitchhiker. It's picked up a friend and it's travelled through the galaxy. As long as it's not the forerunner to the Vorgon destructor fleet, I think we're safe. Yes, I think the haze has just thinned out a little bit and getting a bit more detail again. Right. Yeah, I think all the action is happening around the leading edge. So move the magnifier out of the way. Even though that's the core element, that bright spot there, there's a lot of coma around the front. So the coma is way out in front of that comet. I wonder if NASA's thought of that. Sending a Voyager 1 type probe, landing it on one of these long period Comet with a pretty damn good power supply and let it hitch a ride on wherever it goes. With the Canon camera on front, taking pictures every 48 hours or something, so you've got a pictorial journal of its journey. Instead of building probes and firing them off into the distant galaxy, just send them up and land them on one of these things and it'll hitch a ride forever. I suppose once they've snagged a bit of Comet and brought it back to Earth, that would be the next step forward. Landing a Voyager type craft on the Comet and letting it hitch a ride. Was it Japan that did the recovery for the cometary debris? Was it Japan or was it China? I think it was Japan. I can't remember the name. Yeah, we've got two distinct elements coming out again on the detail. One bit just there, one bit just there. Well, I think that's two just there, to be honest. Two pieces here. Yeah. Yep, clarity is coming back. We could see more detail in the. Oh, it's getting better. It's getting better. It'd be nice if got a little bit more clarity before I went to bed. There's that bit going round it again. Oops. There it is. Yes, it's definitely got itself a companion going through here. Yeah, gold only has value if you've got something to use it on. With the advance in silicon, I think they're not going to be needing gold for some of these electronic circuits anymore. And this carbon nano tubes, it's a lot fine. You can do things a lot finer. You can get a lot more critical elements, really fine details with them, down to atom level. So circuits are going to get a lot smaller, and I don't think gold will hold its usefulness within that field for much longer. Yes, the carbon nanotubes, I think they're using carbon, and there's a progress on silicon. You're stretching my brain now, because it was so long ago when I read about this. AMD use a process now on their Ryzen type processors that have got it down to 7 nanometers for the circuits, and the lithography they're using can go down to 5 for the next generation of processors, and then they're even starting now on 3 nanometer circuits. So they can handle a lot of power. And gold, I don't think, is part of it. I don't think gold's part of it. Gold does have its uses for shielding, because they infused gold into the windows of space shuttle. Even on the space station, they've got gold on some of the, I think on all of them. That's right. the helmet visors have gold on there. It's I think it's down to the density. You can get a really thin layer of gold, but it'll still be dense enough to protect them from radiation passing through. Yes, the clarity is fluctuating outside. I think we're getting a clear patch coming through again. I'm going to start up another capture run. I'll leave that at 50. Right. What's that, 45 seconds? Yeah. That's binning one by one. I'm just going to try changing the binning on it to 2 by 2. See if we get any extra detail out of it. Right, stop the live view and start the new capture. Right, this capture run finishes at 8 minutes past the hour of 1 o'clock in the morning here. I think I'll let this one run its course, and then I'm going to call it an evening. Unless the clarity improves dramatically, because I don't think it's as clear this evening as it was the other evening. So I'll capture this data, I'll mark it in a different folder, and I'll do a comparison side by side with stacked data, see if we can discern any difference in the major core elements, see if we can pick out any changes over the 48-hour time period between the first capture run and the second. I'll also set up that moon tour. Should be interesting. It's a colour camera I'll be using on that one as well. I might even see if I can set up remote control so I can let viewers control the scope, if I dare do that. Yeah, wasn't it Arizona that had a lot of gold rush stories and tales about gold laying everywhere, and some of the Native Americans used to collect it to make jewellery. Take the magnifier off. You can definitely see multiple it's gone now. Multiple areas of density along that actual plane of the comet. Put it back. Not sure about Australia. The native people, I didn't do much at school on them, and school for me was a long time ago. Yeah, I can still definitely pick out two distinct sections on the comet. Sorry, 3. I'm doing it. I'm sticking my nose right up to the screen again, and the closer I get, the less I see. Clear that. Now it's still hazy. I think it's just tweaking the histogram that's getting us the details out of it. Yeah, just picking a different part of the histogram brings out more details. I was doing exactly the same as I was doing the other evening. I was getting closer and closer to the screen and seeing less and less. I have to sit back and let it sink in. Let's have a look what the... Here's the weather forecast where I am right now. That's the time right now, 00 midnight hour. 89% of the sky is supposed to be obscured. There is a slight breeze, so that bit's right. So in theory I shouldn't be seeing anything, but I think with a high cloud it's just giving me enough visibility to pick up some details. And the next predicted bit of clear sky is an evening where there's virtually no moon, and it's next Tuesday, a week away, but that could change. Thursday morning it might be worth having a go, but see how I feel on that. And this evening, for a couple of hours this evening, just before it gets dark. So there's a possibility this evening. This gives you me estimated sky clarity over here, look. Naked eye should be able to see magnitude 18.9. I very much doubt that. And it's class 8 Bortle, which is really bad. And there's my lat long. That's where I am. Right, move that back out. Let's have a look what's going off. Yeah, you can definitely see different elements within the comet. I think I'll definitely call it a night when these 50 images have been captured. That'll be after 1 o'clock in the morning. If the sky does happen to clear up any better, which I think we've got the best of it as it is now. If it does suddenly improve, I might stop up a little bit longer. The sensors drop down to -1 degree centigrade. So there's a chance no, it won't be fogging because I've got a heater on there to stop the lenses from fogging up. That's something else I've done. DIY. Can you remember the blood moon? That's handheld with a Canon camera, a blood moon from here. No telescope involved on that one. And do you want to see what happens with extreme cooling of your camera? Before I finalise the design for my cooling element of the camera that I'm using, that is what happens when you don't control the voltage of the cooling device. Your camera turns to frost. That's the filter wheel, and that's the telescope. That's before I incorporated voltage control and thermal control. And the final product of all the experimentation for cooling, there's the camera as it is now, but I put a thermal jacket around it there. That's the filter wheel. That's a Coma corrector and light pollution filter. That's the main body of the cooler. There's a little fan on the end there, draws air in there to fins to cool them down. And there's a thermal plate in between, Peltier, to drop the temperature. On-off switch, and it's now got thermal control, and it's also got a heater on the filter wheel to stop the filter wheels fogging. That was the Mark 1 experimental piece, and that's what the finished product looked like when I finished the designs. And that's what's actually keeping the camera at -1 degree centigrade right now, that bit there. There you go, that's the thermal control I put on it. So astronomy's got lots of elements to it, lots of elements. You've not missed a lot. The sky clarity's in flux at the moment, so I've just been going through some of the photographs of some of the equipment I've been building. When the clarity does come, you can definitely see the different parts of the comet. And there's that bit that I think that's rolling off. Yeah, the sensor, the bit that captures the electrons, the photons, sorry, not electrons, the photons, gets warm. If you leave your camera switched on, the sensor gets warm, and it gets warm, it gets noisy. All the pixels come in. You see all the pixelation when I zoom right in? All these pixels, that's noise. And by cooling the camera, you reduce the amount of noise that interferes with the picture. At the moment, my sensor is -1 degree centigrade. Ideal is 0 to +1. Without the cooling device on there, it runs at about 34 degrees centigrade. So the cooler I've made's dropped it around 34 degrees centigrade. It's dropped it down from its natural running state. So it does improve the noise, the background noise, quite significantly. If you bought a camera with built-in cooling, you basically add £500–600 to the price. The camera itself cost me just over £600 a couple of years ago. So it would have been well over £1,000 for that camera with shop built cooling built into it. But like a challenge, I decided to experiment, and I built my own quite successfully. I think it works quite nice. Could do a little bit finer control over the temperature regulation, because it's got about 2-degree window where it varies up and down. It's not quite as fine control as I like, but it's adequate for what I do with it. Another project underway at the moment that I'm working on. Power box for distributing power to the different parts of the telescope. 2 variable outputs for these, for the heaters, dew bands. Each one of these can be assigned a different voltage. You can have a variable voltage for these 2 channels here. That gives you the overall current and the actual voltage going into the system. At the moment it's set to 13.9 volts and it's using 0 amps. So that's a box I'm actually working on right now, and I hope to have that finished whenever I get time. Here's one I never showed you that I quite like. The Iris Nebula. That's with this camera we're using right now, and you can see this bottom right hand corner has got amp glow. That's before I put the cooling system together, and it's one of the reasons I did the cooling system, trying to avert some of the amp glow there, keep the camera cooler, and you get rid of a lot of that. Yeah, it's more than just a heatsink. They're called a Peltier. It's like a heat pump. It sucks heat from one side of its surface and distributes it to the other. So one side will get really, really cold, and one side will get really, really hot. So the way to keep it working is to dissipate the heat effectively. Hence lots and lots of fins, a fan, and some clever electronics that keeps the voltage down. So you don't, you can get a Peltier to cool really, really cold by pumping a lot of voltage into it and a lot of current. But that also generates a lot of heat on the hot side. So if you can get the temperature down with a lower voltage, you get a lot more control of the heat dissipation on the other side. So it's all down to, it's all a balancing act. It's all a balancing act. And I had quite a few months playing with that, building that one. Built it from scratch, from an idea I had that I thought might work. Yeah, you get a lot of time to think when you're looking at the stars. I always like to be busy with my hands. I also had plans when I retired that I'd have a little workshop where I could build all the things that I think I could build better than other people have already done, or build them cheaper. I'm that addicted. That's a nice capture actually. See three easy distinctive elements here. Look, one at the front, one in the middle, and one at the back. You even see it better on there. Look. It's going to be difficult for me to decide to switch off and go to bed tonight if it keeps varying like this. I don't know if you play computer games, but I play a game called Elite Dangerous, and that's got a model of the Milky Way galaxy, our galaxy, and it's got all the elements, all the planets, the nebula, all that's within our galaxy modelled in the game. So if I wanted to go to the Witchhead Nebula or the Orion Nebula, I could jump into one of my ships and fly across to it. Yeah, PC and PlayStation. I've streamed that as well on here occasionally, not on this, on my ordinary profile under my name. Yes, I've been attacked many times. Yeah, the clarity's dropped a little bit again. Yeah, I never went for the Xbox. Um, I started out with the PlayStation 1 many moons ago and stuck with the platform. School friends had the same one, so we used to swap games. So it was cheaper than going for an Xbox. Now I can't tell if that's a star or if that's part of the comet. That bright spot there. So I'm watching all these images come in, watching how they change. Oh, nice one, nice one. Yes, the PlayStation, I did all the Call of Duties on the PlayStation 3, and that was entertainment. And I've moved to space exploration and trading with Elite Dangerous because you can visit all the stars that I can photograph. Hey, we got photobombed by satellite. Yeah, swapping discs over just at the boot up for a copy. Done that before, many times. Right, easy 4 elements there. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can see all 4 different elements on that one. One there, one there, one there, and the big one at the front, one there. So the rear element, the rear of the 4, is the second largest. The two small, the middle two, the central two, aren't as large as the first one and the last one. Be interesting to see some of the more professional photographs. See if they see if what I'm picking up here conforms to what they've seen. Other people have photographed. The first and the last element are the largest two, with the two in between being significantly smaller. What we got? 28 of 50. I'm not sure. Along the axial trajectory, I'm assuming they rotate. I'm not sure at what speed. When what was it that landed on that asteroid? The one that they lost. That was rotating very, very slowly, but it took them a couple of days to match the rotation. So I should imagine they'll all be rotating to some degree. Yeah, corkscrew style. So I should imagine they'll all rotate to a degree. I can't imagine them being stable. Yes, a bit like us. So we would have its own gravity. Was it Philo that the lander that landed on that asteroid? I think it was Philo or Philo, and it bounced and it ended up in that crevasse, and they only found it after the batteries went flat because there was not enough sunlight to keep it charged up. But yeah, I should imagine it'll be rotating to some degree, and that could be causing some of these elements, if it's rotating really fast, that could be causing some of these elements to become visible on a periodic time. Yeah, they'll all have gravity. Mass creates its own gravity to lesser degrees. A 10 kilometre diameter lump of iron would have more attraction than a 10 kilometre diameter lump of cork. So mass attracts mass. So that is sort of a gravitational effect. But now with the mass being split up, there's going to be lots of different effects going off. And I'm nowhere near clever enough to be able to diagnose what's going off. Not with this equipment anyway. And it'd be nice to go to one of the big observatories and take a sequence of images. Yeah, there's definitely a larger element to the rear of the Comet. But where my cursor is now, depending on the clarity when this next image comes through, it should just be there. "12 minutes to 1. About a quarter of an hour for this imaging run to finish. Yeah, right just there, right where the cursor was. So yeah, from this angle, I've sat back, I can see 5 elements now. One there, one there, one there, one there, and one there. I can see 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, I can see 5. I can see 5 distinct elements of the same core. It'd be interesting if other people have picked 5 up now rather than the 4 that was originally there. You can see the atmospheric turbulence causing distortion again, and there's that rear element still there, that rear part just there. The front's distinctly detached from the main. That's distinctly detached from the main, and that blur just there. Oh, it's so frustrating not being able to get the equipment that you'd want to play with, but I'd be spoiled if I had everything I wanted. Right, let's see if that stays there again. Sort of. Well, I don't think it's a problem with my focus. I think it's more to do with atmospheric interference that's causing the variations on the images. Yes, back again. That's definitely part of it, and that's one of the larger pieces. Yeah, there's also something better, faster, stronger, longer. You have to find your comfort zone. I'm really quite happy with what I've got, but I do want to give myself a treat on my birthday. And I'm now seeing five pieces on that. Yeah. If you saw the early photographs I got with this camera and compared to what I'm getting now, there, I'd say you'd got 150% improvement from the first images to these images. Mind you, somewhere in that transition, I modified it to be cooled. The issue's not for long exposures. I could put a 10-minute exposure on this, but the atmospheric conditions wouldn't allow me to do anything. It would just white out. Look at that on that smaller image there. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that 6? I might be getting tired because I'm seeing more and more elements in there. 1, 2, 3. No, it's 5. 5 if you don't count that one. 6 if you do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That will be 6. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, my limiting factor, yeah, easy 150. My limiting factor here is my location. I'm about a kilometre and a half from centre of a mid-sized town, and the light pollution's absolutely horrendous. South of Sheffield, Mansfield. Do you know, are you from Sheffield? The accent. Yeah, Mansfield, south of Sheffield. Whereabouts are you located? Sussex. Southerner. Yeah, they have light pollution issues there as well. There's definitely a lot of data in these images. Let's just clear it out and let's have a look at. Yeah, still got a lot of haze. Still a lot of haze. It's only barely coming out of the background noise. Yeah, last year we were planning on going camping in Scotland. You saw that picture with the portable telescope, the 150mm with the 80mm guide scope. We were planning on going to Scotland with that, but I had an accident and tore the ligaments of my left foot, and my ligaments and tendons are screwed over. So that was over a year ago, and I'm still not back to what it was before. So I'm sort of handicapped to a degree on my mobility. See if we can drag some more out of this. Yeah, it is quite uncomfortable, but and old age doesn't help very much. Sometimes I feel really old. Yeah, I did John O'Groats Land's End on a motorbike, and although we, although at John O'Groats we were camping far away, it must have been about 8 miles away from John O'Groats on a friendly farm. We never actually saw them, although we spent what 3 nights, 4 nights there before coming back down. Can't remember. I can't remember. We're talking when I was 21. It's over 30 years ago. 29 years ago. It's that long ago. That long ago. Got photographs back in the day with a little pocket film camera. Way before the digital days. Means digging out a big tin full of photographs. I used to be in a bike club called Shoulder and Mutton MCC. I used to have A65 650 Thunderbolt, an old BSA, and the 350 single cylinder B40. That was BSA as well. They were my two bikes, but when I was a bit older, I went for the speed side. I had a GSX 1100 EF, and I did the John O'Groats Land's End on the GSX 1100. I remember we camped at Aviemore on the way up because the weather was absolutely horrendous. And absolutely soaked through to the skin, so we had an extra day at Aviemore. On the non-zoomed portion of that image there, you can see more detail than on that one. But you need to tweak these settings just to pick out the different elements. Yeah, atmospheric turbulence spoiling it at the minute. That with the high haze, just clear these settings. Yeah. Yeah, it's hardly coming out from the background noise at the minute. I have absolutely no idea. Right, we're just coming up to the end of this imaging run. That bit just there, bright spot just underneath. Oh, if the sky was only solid. Right, that's that run finished. Let's just clear that one. Right, let's go back to live view. Seconds. Right, back to a 10-second exposure, see what comes out. 10 seconds apparently isn't enough. Yes, I think we're fighting noise now. The haze in the skies hiding the majority of the stuff, so we're not going to get very much on there. Just going to go out into observatory a minute and just check the ambient temperature, because if there's any dew about, that could settle on the lenses. Although I've got heat, it might be overpowering the heaters. Just going to check the lenses, see if we've got any dew forming on there. 30 seconds seems to be about the right length of exposure on that one. Look, just tweak that a little bit. Yeah, I can definitely see different elements on there. Not be a minute, I'm just going to go have a check, see what temperature's like in there. Yeah, it's cold, but there's no dew forming. The mirrors are clear, so that's not the problem. The sky's very, very, very hazy. I think that bit of light there is from my torch when I went into the obviously I didn't switch the lights on. I'll just clear that streak there. Yeah, yeah, a lot of that is just from the sky, so I don't think we're going to get much improvement on what we've got here on screen right now. Right, I think because of the conditions outside and the haze that we're fighting and battling, I don't think I'm going to be able to get anything better than what I've already got. So I'm going to call it a night. I'm going to be processing this set of data in conjunction with the first set of data from 2 nights ago. I'm going to have a side-by-side comparison, so see if there's any movement, or if we can get enough detail to see if there's any movement between the different fragments of the comet. And also I'll be curious to see what other people have picked up. It would be nice. But anyway, say thank you for everybody for watching. Nice to have you along for the ride, and I'll hope to be doing another one soon. And earlier on people were asking about a moon tour. I'll set something up and I'll put notification on the channel, and I'll do a moon tour for everybody in the near future. So thank you very much everybody for watching. I hope you have a nice evening. I hope you found it informative. If you did, please like and subscribe and leave a message. I know I'm getting out to you. So once again, thank you very much and have a nice evening. Cheers.